Good evening, everyone. Please be seated. Right. At the start of the meeting, I have the following announcement to make.
It's a new style microphone, so it's the same as we should press that button.
Okay. Thank you. Good to know. Yes, welcome to this evening's meeting of Taunton Town Council. I'd like to advise everyone present that should the fire alarm sound, you should leave the building immediately via one of the fire exits, which are clearly signposted outside this committee room. Please use only the stairs, do not use the lift. The fire assembly point is in the staff car park at the rear of the Deane House. You should not return to the building for any reason until you've been advised it is safe to do so. Can I remind everyone to please put your mobile phone on silent mode and keep the phone away from the microphones to minimise interference. The meeting will be recorded and live webcast, and therefore when speaking, please remember to speak clearly into your microphone. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to terminate or suspend recording and webcasting if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting. Recording and webcasting of confidential items will also not take place. Please remember, if you leave the meeting room for any reason, you will not be able to take part in the vote on the item being discussed at that time. Please, can I request that when speaking, you make your points as succinct as possible to allow for the smooth running of the meeting. Please, can I also take this opportunity to remind you to be polite and to treat each other with respect at all times. And for members of the public wishing to use the toilets, these can be found off the landing immediately outside the committee room. And can I request that anyone who has brought a cup or glass into the committee room, please can you return it to the kitchen area after the meeting is finished? Thank you. Today we don't have any reflections. We don't have a thought for the day. Yes, tonight. But we do have something from Chris Wadilla who'd like to speak to the council.
Thank you very much, Council, for giving me time. I feel very privileged to live in Taunton, a town that prioritises the arts and culture as it does. Witness the Inspiring Arts and Culture report published recently. But honesty is required. There are glaring gaps in the arts provision at the moment. I quote from Ambition 1, sentence 1 from that report. Everyone in Taunton should be able to enjoy a diverse range of arts and culture. Well, try telling that to the 80% of music lovers who live in our town, who would love to experience live gigs and concerts in the town, but look in vain for any news of gigs and concerts. If you're not into pub bands, tribute bands at the brew house, choral music in churches, world music at Kitkin, and you are not satisfied by one or two outdoor concerts in Library or the cricket ground in the summer, there is nothing. For the simple reason that we do not, in Taunton, have an auditorium with a capacity of more than 500, far below the number required to attract bands of calibre with a national profile. Peter Lewis of Music on the Quantocks is desperate for a larger capacity auditorium so he could put on symphony orchestras and larger classical events, which he knows he could sell out very easily. This is a dire situation, and there does not seem to be a plan B in the report to remedy this situation, at least in the short and medium term. Of course, there is the chimera of the Firepool project, but knowing how long plans take to come to fruition, we are looking here at a 25-year plan, 25 years down the road. But I've not come here this evening to be negative. I come with a message of hope. There is a building in the very heart of our town which could be ready in 3 or 4 years to become the prime music venue we so desperately need. I speak, of course, of the old Gaumont Palace cinema / variety theatre, now Mega Bingo, built in 1932. It has a seating capacity of 1,200. It's a wonderful building full of glorious Art Deco and hallowed by the sounds of most of the great bands of the 60s and 70s, including, of course, the Beatles. It would take comparatively little money by today's standards to refurbish the Gaumont Palace to be ready to put on arts events near future. At this point, I should make my position clear. I am a member of a community group which is in the process of becoming a cooperative community benefit trust in order to secure this building for the community in perpetuity. We're not expecting any money from the council. We realise that we have to raise this money ourselves. And we're talking about 5 million, 2 million to purchase the building and 3 to refurbish. Now, can I stress to council that this is not a heritage project. This is about answering a real and pressing practical need. The building also lends itself well to the vision of the multi-purpose arts venue, which you affirm in your report as an ambition. We so need public spaces in Taunton where people can come together, enjoy enlightenment and fraternity. We envisage this building open all day, every day, with a vibrant cafe at its heart. And by the way, Mega Bingo's lease does terminate in 2027, which will just give us time to raise that 5 million we need. There will be room for both the Gaumont and whatever the Firepool development produces. This county town needs both. There'll be no conflict of interest. Firepool will be on an entirely different scale, as I see it, for stadium-type concerts and mega arts events. So each of the 3 theatres we would then have in the town, Firepool, Gaumont and Brewhouse, would each be on a different scale, have a different profile and have quite different suitabilities. Council, I ask you to come behind us in our quest to make this beautiful building part of the community, at the hub of the community. And by the way, not putting down Bingo, we must find an alternative space for that. Thank you very much.
Tom, would you like to reply?
Yeah, more than happy to, then. Chris, thank you so much for coming along this evening. It's very much appreciated. I think you rightly outlined the importance of arts and culture in our community, and I know that us as councillors recognise that importance, and more so than the colleagues sat immediately to my left. I think also thank you for listing the wide range of music vision that we do have in the town already. I think there is a huge amount going on, but I agree with you that we could always ask for more. I tend to agree with you actually that there is an opportunity and that we are missing something in the town. I agree with you and that thrust of the direction that you want us to move forward in. I say that in the knowledge that at the town council, whilst we might be able to support you, we are limited in the actions that we can take practically to help you right now. It's an asset owned by Somerset Council. There is a sitting tenant whose lease has a break point in 2027, I believe, and an option to extend for further 10 years.
Yes, but we can override the option.
Okay, so
That's the difference, we would be in. Sorry.
That's okay. And I've attended an engagement event previously around the project going on and the opportunities that give to town. So generally, I'm supportive of what you're looking to achieve and interested in how we can support you as town council. One of the things that it might be worth exploring, I don't know very much about it, but our officers can point you in the direction is logging an asset and community value for the going on as well. So
Yes.
that might be something.
That would be very good.
That might be something you may want to explore, that might be worth looking at. I don't know the process or the details, but it's a steer that I can give you. On the purchase price, I'd love maybe offline to hear from you about where you've heard that purchase price from, because it's certainly not a number that I've been aware of. So I'd be intrigued to hear where that's come from. And to say, just thank you for what you're doing. I do agree that there's a gap in something more that we need, and hope that we can get there in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we start the agenda proper, I propose as chair to bring the item on Priorswood Library forward this evening, mainly because we have Darren Smart from Somerset Council Libraries who's going to talk on it. So that's okay with everyone. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have apologies tonight from councillors Lester, Evans and Fernandez. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'm just wondering, can you pull the mic closer to yourself in fact, I think students are struggling to hear. So it would be good if we can have it closer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Can we now approve and sign as a correct record the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 14th of May? I do need a proposer, a seconder. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell, for proposing, and thank you, Councillor Strauss. Could I have a show of hands that these are a correct record of the minutes, please? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the approved minutes of the committees listed. So the next item is to note the minutes and actions of the committees shown below. Community Services Committee and the Planning, Development and Transport Committee. Are there any comments about this? There is a link, I believe, on the agenda to the relevant minutes of these committees. And please note that any committee minutes referred to full council requiring full approval will be listed separately. Now we're moving on to swiftly to item 5, reports from chairs of committee. Okay, so could I have a vote, again, proposer, seconder, and a show of hands on the last one, please? So, all those in favour, thank you, Councillor Packagins. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Solly. And a show of hands, please. Okay, Karen, thank you. Right, number 5 are reports from the chairs of the committees. I'm now calling upon the chair of each council committee to provide an overview of what's been going on. So can I start with Councillor Solly, please?
Hello. Yeah, our meeting in April went really well. We had over 13 applications, a few listed building applications too. One of the things we discussed in full was a slight update from markers on the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. We also had a great presentation from a company called POPs, where they spoke about great interactive advertising screen, which could be possibly becoming the first place in the UK to have them, because they're based in Ireland. The presentation explained everything about the product and also including a heart defibrillator. in it, and also it'll include all of the local information from the day ahead, including where and when events are, including bus times, etc. It's very interesting. But apart from that, very neat, and yeah, thank everybody who attended. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Solé. I know that Councillor Ben Fernandez is not here this evening, so I don't know if anyone wants an update on the Community Services Committee. Okay, then moving on then to Councillor Ray Tully to give us an update on what's been happening in finance and governance.
Right, the last meeting we had was on the 30th of April. This was an early meeting, unfortunately at 4 o'clock rather than normal 6, because something was happening in the town later on that evening. We basically agreed to bring this committee, this council, my apologies, a number of things that we considered and we need you to vote or agree with. First is standing orders, which we considered and revised, and you should have a copy of it somewhere. Right, we recommend that this to the full council for voting on. Madam Mayor, will they be voting as a whole? Because I'm going to go through every one of the list.
We will be voting on each one separately.
Right, then the first one is the standing orders, Madam Chair. Do we go for vote on that one, please?
Sorry, I think this item was just for a general overview, Chair, on the business of that meeting, not for us to go into the item on the recommendations from the Finance and Governance Committee in item 16. If I'd probably suggest going into the detail with the Chair in that particular item rather than on this item, if that's okay with them.
Right. And I'll say generally on it, we have on the 30th, we had one. We brought 7 different subjects to the committee, which we will go later on for the council to something to. Other than that, that's it for now.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was trying to remember what the committee last discussed, which is why I was a bit slow putting up my hand. But it is worth mentioning that the committee last time, we did take a vote on buying some speed indicator devices. We agreed to buy 4 and the type of speed indicator device. That I think is the main thing that I think is worth reporting back to full council that we have agreed to do that. The other thing, of course, is we looked at the Child of Compassion, which we did recommend to full council tonight, which is we all find it on the agenda. And Mr. Spragg is here to join us for that very reason.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Donnell. All right, moving on, thank you. Are there any reports from outside bodies, appointees? And then we can now move on then to the appointment of leader. We're asked to consider appointing a leader of the town council for this year, for this municipal year, sorry. And do I have proposals, please? For leader of the council. Councillor Solé.
I propose Councillor Deane.
Could I have somebody to second that proposal?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Isaacs. Are there any other proposals as a leader? Okay, could I now have a show of hands then, if all those in favour? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, Councillor Deacon, you are a leader of the council again. Thank you. Right, moving on to the deputy leader. We have to consider appointing a deputy leader of the town council for the ensuing municipal year. So could I have, a proposal, please, for the deputy leader? Yes, yes.
I'd like to propose councillor Amber Packer Hughes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Strauss. Do I have any other proposals as the deputy leader of the council? Any others? Okay, could I then have a show of hands to vote for Amber Packer Hughes to be the deputy leader of the council? Okay, thank you very much. It's unanimous, thank you. The next item is to receive communications from the town mayor. I've only been the town mayor for a very short time, so the only thing, the only item I really can report on is an event I went to this morning, which was lovely, in the country park, and it was to commemorate the Falklands. I was able to lay a wreath on behalf of Taunton Town Council and the people of Taunton. It was a very lovely and moving event, yeah, I'm very glad that I was able to do that. But I don't want to let Councillor O'Donnell get away with not saying anything about all the stuff he's been up to. So please, Councillor O'Donnell, please can you tell us something about all the things that you have attended?
Right, okay, I was not expecting that. Lucky my time, right, well, I can say it was an incredible, last weekend was one. So yes, the Good Fair, and I'd like to thank everyone who supported me on that. Bank holiday Monday, I spent most of that week preparing my speech and my talk, which was in front of Tom Maybury, an accomplished speaker on artefacts in the museum. So I was being a tad nervous, but it seemed to go well. And I hope you've all had the opportunity to go and see the Good Fair in the museum. It looks absolutely stunningly beautiful. When the case went in first thing Thursday morning, a couple of weeks ago, and I met Amal there, and I just walked into the discovery room, saw it there, and I just think, well, I just can't remember what it works for joy. So after that, I seem to have an incredibly busy time, and a lot of events. Back to I think what I did. We had the VE's commemoration. So last Wednesday, 8th of May. So again, we went and laid a wreath. That was very last minute. We weren't expecting it. Came through, I think, Tuesday evening. So I think people being caught off the hop. But the Royal British Legion turned up in full force. And it was a very, it was a worthwhile event to do, actually. Last year, I think we focused on VJ Day because that is the actual end of all hostilities. VE Day was certainly a great celebration here in this country and in Europe, and it's still worth commemorating. And then, well, the Eid Festival, I was invited along to attend the Eid Festival, which I think was a fantastic event, and it was incredibly busy, very, very busy. And I do think it is, you know, it makes our town very vibrant, and it'd be good to see that carry on. Otherwise, I think I'll stop there. Am I finally allowed to stop next week? Thank you.
Thank you so much, yeah, Councillor O'Donnell. Yes, I really enjoyed the Good Fairy event. That was lovely. Yeah. Apparently I missed out an item, an appointment to outside bodies. I've just been told off by Marcus. So anyway, Marcus is going to say something about this, I hope. Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Easily done. So in terms of the outside body appointments, it was attached to the agenda, but I'm happy to just read them out for the record, if that's okay. So there's Mayor's Consort, which will be Dr. Mansour Olawala Juma. And then the sub for that would be Deputy Mayor, past mayors or any TTC councillors. The Taunton LCN, Councillor Bert Fernandez with Councillor Martin Strauss subbing. Taunton Garden Town, Councillor Tom Deacon with Councillor Caroline Ellis subbing. the Armed Forces Champion, Councillor Ben Fernandez, the Brew House Committee Observer, Councillor Caroline Ellis, and then the Staple Road Trust. We were made aware of this by representatives in Staple Road. It's a charitable trust. They require representatives from the parish council to sit on that body, and they dispense funds for local people in need. Joan Bird wishes to serve a further term of office on there. She's due for it's due for reinstatement this year, so I did brackets there 2024. And a lady called Heather Williams isn't due for re-election until 2026. Joan is willing to carry on serving, even though she's not a parish councillor for Staple Road any further. I believe she's had conversations with Councillor Furman in relation to this matter. But obviously it's in the gift of the councils to build the successor body to Staple Road Parish Council as to whether you wish that to continue. And obviously we'll let them know post this meeting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. So now we're moving on then to item, sorry, yes, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Just in relation to that Staple Grove Trust, I'm not against that individual being on there. I'm just wondering whether or not that fills the need of that charity in relation to its object and how it works. Because if that's being absorbed by us, if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, I'm just wondering how it is that we appoint someone from external to the council to something that we need to appoint. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you, sorry. So the charity is the one that we've absorbed in control of the parish council. I believe they require appointees in their terms of reference, for want of the best phrase, that we appoint 2 people onto that board of trustees of that charity. So for the 2 slots that we have appointing rights to, they would like these 2 individuals to continue to be on that on our behalf, but it's whether you're comfortable with that or not.
Yes, Councillor Furman.
Thank you. Yes. Last year I attended their annual general meeting, and they discussed about the work they do, and I'm happy for those 2. I personally would be happy for those 2 individuals to continue in their role on the board of that charity.
Thank you. Councillor Deacon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just with regards to the Taunton Garden Town, I believe, I'm going to throw my name on that, Councillor Solly has volunteered to take on being our representative on that board moving forward. So I'm happy to step aside and arguably much best qualified colleague, Councillor Solly, who's happy to sit on that. And I believe Councillor Fernandez was happy to be the substitute, Councillor Solly as well. So I'm happy to make those changes. I'll step aside.
Thank you, Councillor Deacon. Thank you, Councillor Solly, for doing that.
On that, yeah.
Okay, could I have someone to propose what we've now agreed, which is to appoint these various people to the outside bodies? So could I have someone to propose this? Okay, thank you, Councillor Solly, and someone to second it, please. Thank you, Councillor Solly. Could I have a show of hands, please? Thank you, that's carried unanimously. Next, I think we have communications or announcements from the leader of the council. Over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Very brief. This month, just wanted to take this opportunity, as we're now entering our 2nd year as council, to thank everyone for their efforts in year 1, staff and councillors, for everything that we've been able to achieve over the past 12 months. It's been a challenging time for us as being a new council, having to take on more responsibility very quickly. But I think that we've served our residents diligently. So we'd like to thank everyone for their efforts and can't wait to get going into this second year, working alongside each and every one of you. And I think our kind of first event of the year, the mayor making last week was brilliant. So I wanted to thank everyone involved in that, and particularly Joe Comer, our civic lead, who did an amazing job of putting that together. I think everyone who was able to be there. It was an amazing event. The two choirs, the female voice choir and Bocce were, I think, both amazing, both incredible. So thank you to everyone who made that happen. I just want to thank Councillor O'Donnell again for his year in office as mayor, and to wish Councillor Garside and Councillor Strauss all the best for the year ahead.
Thank you, councillor Deacon. Thank you very much. Yes, it was a lovely event, and I think Jo Comer really did us proud. Yes, I'd like to say, she did a marvellous job on that. Yeah. Right, thank you very much. Can we move on to the community review? I think Trish Callett is going to give us an update on the communities.
Madam, I think Trish is here to answer any questions. She's obviously the appointed vice chair of
Yes.
that particular working group. I believe we were due to have Catherine Armstrong here from the Community Council of Somerset, who said she could get her from 6:30. But I don't know if she's running late. It might be worth us moving on to the Charter for Compassion.
Oh, yeah,
on
yes.
Mrs. Catherine and see if she's stuck in traffic or something. Sorry, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Right then, we'll move on to item 13, which is the Charter for Compassion. This came before Community Services Committee. I was very interested in seeing its progress because I'm very keen for the council to support this so that it could be included in the Taunton Together celebration, because it seems to fit very well there. I think the Lord High Sheriff is celebrating all the communities of Somerset on that particular day in Taunton Minster, and that would be a good opportunity to sign the Charter for Compassion on behalf of the people of Taunton. I think Taunton is a compassionate town, and I think it would sit very well with the fact that we are a sanctuary town. Also, the purpose of the Taunton Together Festival, which is to celebrate inclusion and diversity, as well as the arts and culture. I think it would follow on very well from Nick's charity of Caris. It would fit in with all these things. And I think Andy is going to say maybe a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for giving me the opportunity to bring this to you. Some background so that you can take the decision. The charter was laid down back in 2009. Karen Armstrong set it up with the Dalai Lama and various other spiritual leaders. It had a vision essentially to spread that simple message of compassion out across the world. So it is a charter that people sign. And today, about 2 million organisations worldwide have signed it in over 30 countries. It's been translated into those countries. It covers areas of arts, business, education, environment, etc. So it's very inclusive. It's multi-faith. So I am one of the UK reps for the Charter, and I've been invited back in 2017 to begin an initiative to try to get Taunton to sign it. So it's taken a while, but we did get delayed by the pandemic. There's 29 towns across the UK that have taken on the Charter so far: Birmingham, Bournemouth, Bracknell, Brighton, Liverpool, London, etc. And they've approached it in two ways. Most have gone for a bottom-up approach. Religious groups, social organisations signing the Charter, working with local government to take compassionate change forward. Few have gone top-down. Cornwall, Lambeth, Belfast, with the council signing the Charter first and others in the community following on. A quick highlight, in case you're wondering, there are other compassionate organisations out there, of course there are. One of the best represented is Compassionate Cities. And some cities, such as Liverpool and Birmingham, have also signed this, so they've signed both actually. It's a little different in that its primary focus is on health and wellbeing, particularly mental health. The Charter Compassion that I represent covers a much wider remit: health, social justice, restorative justice, social services, gender partnership, science, research, religion, interfaith, spirituality, arts, media, business, education, environment and peace. So I'm back here inviting Thornton to sign the charter. And I believe we have a real opportunity to look at the top-down approach here, because many of the aims of the charter, Taunton are already doing. Compared to larger cities like Liverpool or Birmingham, it's less complex for us, I believe, to bring a degree of focus to compassionate change. So bringing this to the council, I am in no way implying that the council are not compassionate, just to be clear. The council have already displayed many activities which exemplify compassion. My aim is to bring this down to parishes, larger employers, smaller employers and other organisations to truly take this chance to the town, getting as many people as possible to sign it. Then in the future, maybe working inputs towards Somerset, wider Somerset. With Taunton Town Council signing the charter, it will bring a level of integrity into view, helping me to get other members of our town, community, surrounding parishes to sign. I will be responsible for rippling this out, and I'd be interested in representing back, maybe every 6 months, the council to say how that's going. So yes, as Madam Mayor suggested here, the signing of the Taunton Together Festival, I think that will be a wonderful opportunity to really declare Taunton as a compassionate town. The community group did identify one action that we need to look at, which the charter, you can vary the words, and one of the paragraphs, the community group asked that we put some language in there which is less gender specific, which we can do. There are cities that have already done that, so we suggested that we get together a small group of us and actually come up with wording, which we could do. I'm happy to host and help with that. There's no cost implication, no legal implication. I'm giving my time for free. I think that's it, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. The Community Services Committee recommended the following. That we're resolved to recommend the Charter for Compassion for consideration of adoption by full council, with those interested councillors working together with Mr Brown on any revisions to the wording bespoke to Taunton's circumstances prior to its placement on the agenda. So we're asking members today of the council to consider the adoption of the Charter by Taunton Town Council, and also asking for volunteers to work with Mr Sprague just to amend those few references, gender references. Could I have a proposal, please? Thank you, Councillor Strands. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Could I have a show of hands in any interested parties who will be, sorry, we'll vote on the whole thing. Yes, could I have a show of hands just to support that, the second owner? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And could I have volunteers to help Mrs Brown to amend the wording? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Thank you. I'll go as well. I'll go as well. Okay. Oh, sorry, were you asking a question?
No. I was just think I don't think any best.
Are there any, sorry, because you've done that, sorry. Yes. So,
I've written it just in
okay,
case.
so can I just reopen it in case there's anybody who wants to ask questions about that? Yes. Yes, councillor O'Donnell.
Can I ask Mr. Sporadic whether, we were mentioning it quite specific to Taunton, whether we can include references to Taunton, do that, so rather than just make it quite generic. Or
Yes,
can and should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Furman.
Thank you, yes. I think I may also volunteer for the rewording bit as well, because there's one part in there saying, we acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately and that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion. I don't, so looking at it, so theoretically, it's a, slightly akin to the whole original sin thing, which I don't think we should be looking into as a council.
Okay, thank you, councillor Furman. Thank you, and thank you for volunteering. Any other comments? Could I vote again, please? Could I just have a show of hands at this time? But yeah, we'll work on those things. Yes. Yes, to adopt the charter. So could I have a show of hands again, please? Okay, Karen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, I mean, if you would like to leave now, Mr. Bradley, now's the time to escape. Oh, sorry, councillor Donald.
So, Madam Mayor, can I just ask, have you just adopted the Charter of Compassion before we reworded it? Or is it going to come, should it not come back to full council so that we can all vote on it then?
I understood that the members were to consider the adoption of the charter by Town Council with those volunteer councillors to go away and work on some technology. And we could always bring it back with I think it stands adopted as is. And then if you wish to bring it back with minor amendments before we release it, as a document we've adopted, then we can do something.
Thank you, Marcus. Okay. Right, the next one is the funding request for Forest Library. And I'm calling on Darren Smart from Somerset Council Libraries to introduce the topic, please.
You won't make it work slides, Marcus.
Are you sending them through to me?
Yeah, I sent it to you. All the slides being sort of by Darren Smart, strategic manager for libraries across the county, and lucky enough to be based here in Taunton. Thank you very much for the consideration to hear us. And the last one,
No, what email did you send it to? So was it?
Deputy Clerk.
Yeah, it's not. Check my junk. Not seeing any emails from yourself, so. Would
Okay.
you mind resending it? Or?
And we'll get the laptop back up. So apologies folks, technical hitch, we'll get it sorted.
Okay, brilliant. I'm gonna get these.
Thank you.
We'll get back to Catherine as well.
Oh, yes, yes.
So we did the CCS item last week. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to go back to a previous item as now Catherine Armstrong has arrived, and go back to the community review while we sort out the slides for the library. So we're going back to item 12, which is the community review, and I'd like to call on Catherine to introduce the topic, please.
That working? Thank you. Apologies, I was told 7 o'clock and I met a colleague in the corridor who thought half past 6, so I'm sorry. So my name is Catherine Armstrong and I'm Senior Programmes Manager with Deane House for Somerset. And my role is to support a number of parish and town councils to undertake a community review, and Taunton is one of those. So today I'm going to give you a little update on where we are with the community review process and at what stage we're at, and also to ask for your help in the process. So just a little reminder, just to remind you that this is a community review process funded by Somerset Council through the Somerset Association of Local Councils and delivered by ourselves, CCS, and the support is free to participating councils with the exception of marketing materials and venue costs. And whilst Taunton Town Council holds the agreement with us, it is encouraged that it is a community-wide project. And as such, that's what we've been working on as a steering group. So in terms of the progress, we've got a steering group for the project, which is made up of town councillors with Councillor Fernandez and Councillor Strauss, and also some well-connected influential community members, including Trish Caller, Adrian Price-Anke and Roger House. And the group obviously is also supported by town council officers as well. So Councillor Fernandez is the chair of the group and Trish Caller is the vice chair. And the steering group will be bringing other people on board as and when it needs it throughout the process. So it's not set in stone, but that's the starting point with some really good contacts and key individuals on the steering group. Because obviously we want to engage as many people as possible, residents as possible in the process. So with that in mind, the first task that the steering group undertook was to plan how to market and communicate the plan, and that's to market it to both residents and community groups and activities that happen within the town area. So we recommended having a logo that would then be used from the start of the project, the launch of the project, right through to when actions are happening, so that you can say, this came out of it, because that's often a criticism, whatever happened to that plan, and you can actually say, look, that was part of it, and you've got that branding. So it was agreed by the steering group that we would use the Taunton Town Council peacock and use the gold colour, which I understand is linked with your engaged community priority in your corporate plan, and we're also using the strapline for the project. which comes from your corporate plan and mission statement of shaping Taunton's future. So it all very much links, but it's branded as Taunton's Community Review. So that's what it's called, but it's linked back to what you've already branded, and people are starting getting to know you as a fairly new council. So we felt that that was important to keep that identity. So the steering group have drafted a communications and marketing plan for the community review, and that will obviously be adapted as the process goes along, because there will be new opportunities will arise that we'll be able to communicate and market the project to. So the next stage of the process is to establish what the key or headline hot topics are from residents. So that's just some very headline topics, things like, just off the top of my head, you know, traffic or community facilities or community safety, some very key headline topics that will then help us to hone down onto the questions that we'll formulate for the main consultation survey, which will be taking place in September. So we're just looking at the headlines at this point in time. And in order to do that, we want to do some consultation with the residents and with people who use Taunton. And so we're going to do this in a number of ways. It's going to be an online poll where the link will be on the Taunton Town Council website, which will be just a form, which will be a list of topics, and people can tick their top topics on that. And that link will be publicised far and wide and marketed far and wide on social media, through groups, through our networks, and hopefully through your networks, and to get a feel for what those hot topics are. And we know through this process that we've done with other communities that normally out of a list of about 15, 8 or 9 rise to the top naturally, and then that's what we'll hone in on. So we need to manage expectations as well. We can't possibly ask questions about every single topic and every single issue. So it's about the priorities at this point in time, capturing that. We're also going to do some outreach sessions in Taunton Town Centre, which are going to take place on the 30th of May, the 7th of June and the 12th of June. I should say that this information will be coming out to you by email as well, so you don't need to take notes of dates. But they will be happening, so that's 3 different days of the week, starting next week, and they will be happening for sort of 3 to 4 hour windows in the town centre to try and capture people coming into the town about what their hot topics are as well. And then we'll also be attending groups and areas around Taunton that are identified as either harder to reach or harder to engage areas, so that we make sure that we get a really good representation at this stage. So my next bit is to ask you for some help, please. So we really need you to help spread the word and promote both the project, but also this link around hot topics across your wards, your groups, your networks that you have. Find out what those hot topics are, and the officers, as I said, will be sending out the list, I think tomorrow, but certainly in the next couple of days, and the link that will be up on the website. So the plan is tomorrow to launch this publicly. It hasn't gone out in the public domain yet, but we wanted to brief you first so that you were aware, and you can signpost people to obviously the officers who can talk to me if they don't know the answers, and to the wider steering group as well who are helping us. But it's really about getting that message out, using networks and contacts, and then not only asking them for their help now in terms of the hot topics, but also asking them to engage when they see that the survey is live in September, because that will be the more detailed element of the consultation. If you have contacts that you can't get out to or you can't engage for whatever reason, if you can let the officers know them so that they can follow them up so we don't miss any key contacts, that would be fantastic. And if any of you are available to help in the town centre consultation outreach days, which again you'll send these days through the 30th of May, 7th of June and 12th of June, that would be really good as well. We've got 2 officers. I'm hoping some of the steering group will be there as well, but you know, we're hoping for a reasonable footfall. I think one of the days is the one of the market days and in half term, so hopefully that will be a good one to capture all ages, and then the other days, you know, general footfall. So that's really good. So there is also coming out with the information tomorrow to any councillors who aren't here, or just to remind you, I've recorded this as well, so there'll be a short video just to remind you, and there'll be the information from the team about how to complete the hot topics and how to let them know about any contacts that you're not able to get out to. But I really hope that you can help us to make this a really fantastic process and get the key headlines that the community review should give you so you can move forward once you've got that. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions from anyone? I have one question. Who would you regard as a key contact? I mean, for an example.
So it could be somebody who runs a group or an activity, or it could just be somebody who's got lots of fingers and lots of fuzzy hands, lots of different groups. It might be a sector-specific group, so something like young people or people where English isn't their first language, or it could be a geographical area, so it might be one of the wards that somebody's really well connected. So it can be really anybody who has those networks. So we're about sort of spreading that spider's web, I guess. We're starting with a small group and then using councillors here and then spreading out. There's so many groups in Taunton that we know about and we love to engage.
Thank you. Are there any further questions about this? Well, in that case, could I then call upon members to note the update? And could I also ask for a proposer and a seconder as well to accept the update? Proposer, yes, Liz, thank you. And seconder, Councillor Strauss, thank you. And could I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. I think that was unanimous accepted, thank you. Are we now ready with the library? On site.
Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the technical fault. Begin. Good story, Nash. So obviously here to talk about the community library at Priorswood. This is in a context of historically we've had funding from Cheltenham Parish Council and West Munson Parish Council prior to the formation of the Town Council. That resulted in boundary changes and the financial grant supports from those organisations effectively ceased accordingly. Next slide, please. So we were asked to bring forward what we would like. It's private community library. We would like to ask for funding from the Town Council for £3,500 per annum, with a commitment for 3 years on that basis, to support staff opening hours, which will enable a variety of things. Firstly, professional staff support to help manage the day-to-day function of the library. That's not just simply the routine loaning of books. This is all about the knowledge and support information, the help for people to use computers, the delivery of specialist events and activities such as baby rhyme and story time. That sounds very simple, but actually that develops language, it prepares children ready for school, and it helps mothers and indeed fathers, if they choose to come, to help socialise, gain parental skills and develop support networks. We also do the Summer Reading Challenge, which again, it's great, it's fun for kids, it's free. It's been incredibly popular last year in Priorswood, thanks to an engagement proposition which we came up with. The key thing though is it tackles something called the reading dip, which is prevalent in all schools in all communities, but it's worse in areas of deprivation. And this actually can put back kids by as much as 6 weeks in their education every year. And it's a proven case that if you take part in this thing, you don't have to complete it, but if you take part, it reduces the dip, and if you complete it, it eliminates the dip. Schools are very keen to try and encourage this. We had fantastic engagement with the local primary school because of this, and they see huge distance. The other thing is this model tackles the gender differential. Boys taking part draw level with girls in their reading age. So it's really key to taking them, give them the best chance of starting life. We also back it up with lots of school visits. I employ outreach officers out there and development officers to try and improve what we're doing to target those kids engaged. And for example, last year we introduced take-out activities actually in the park, because that's some feedback from kids. They wanted engagement where they were enjoying the outside. Okay, it also provides increased access to digital resources. These are all free at the point of use, and this includes borrowing equipment with data connectivity included, again, to enable people to take part, as digital inclusion is now vital for involvement in modern life. Okay, the loss of funding, which if you continue, would reduce staff hours effectively for 4 hours a week. That's not to say it's impacting opening hours, that's just the amount of them that we can staff. And that would impact a variety of events and activities, summer reading challenge, outreach, community hours, but what I didn't mention earlier, reduced access to customer access points. Obviously, people come over here, but we know from experience that people do not travel in from the Pricewell area willingly, and this enables them to have equality and access to housing benefits, a variety of other assessments that councils have to take them through, and support in gaining better outcomes as well for themselves. So it's about supporting to help themselves. I'll come to that a bit later. And also it reduces the amount of time that people can access the computers. I should say this is particularly young people, because legally we cannot have children under 16 in the library during what's called the Open Plus, the unstaffed times. We cannot have them in there because of safeguarding requirements. Right, so some statistics. Last year we gained a 21% increase in footfall through staff opening hours, 18% increase in book loans, 215 volunteer hours contribute to this. We are extremely grateful for the volunteers. They play an important part there, but by their own mission, they will only operate if they've got staff support, because they are not trained librarians. You know, we had 1,438 visits during Open Plus hours, which is a considerable amount, with considerable usage of computers as well, and that is vital. As you can see from on the right hand side, these are real examples directly from customers in the Pricewell area. And it's, for example, one at the top, this is about a refugee coming into the area, being made to feel welcome and being able to get starts in life by reading books. They're also an adopter of a thing we supply called Kids Speak, which is designed to get the children reading as a second language into education faster and more efficiently. Again, funded by outside agency as well. This is an additional thing we bring in. They work for us accordingly. We have a menopause group that comes in there periodically. We did a guest speaker for them to get them in, and we demonstrated how you use the blood pressure monitoring systems that we loan for free. Not only do you do the one-off, this is actually to take home and do the 2-week monitoring. Through that process, this individual identified that she had a serious blood pressure issue, went to a doctor's with the evidence and was put on the necessary medication to turn her around and restore her to full health within a few weeks. We get a lot of commentary about workspace. Anybody who's got kids at home will know how tough it is to work at home or studying in particular. This enables people to take those opportunities to help themselves, which so many of them want and look for. And that includes around jobs. The bottom one is a key one. The gentleman made a point of coming in to actually inform me directly. And he was able to get into work by using the computers, because pretty much these days, if you can't apply online, you're not going to get a job. So it's again trying to help. Summer reading challenge, or mentioned the readers did. We did targeted work, working both in the park and the library, and bringing in events funded by, again, our fabulous volunteers, for the 36th, including this Garvin's reptile and bugger funded event, which, as you can see, did involve a rather large lake and 3 very completely unbothered children. It also led to over 2,000 children's books being issued in the one library, and please bear in mind it's a small library with a small number of opening hours. That's an incredible success story in 6 weeks. Okay, move on. This is around, this is a little bit about what we did during response to COVID, but it actually makes some serious points. We are regularly now featured on BBC Radio Somerset, having won their Make a Difference Award. The gentleman on the right is a member of staff, James, who is a fantastic chap. He has personally led the charge on engaging the kids over the summer reading challenge last year, and we'll be back there doing it again this year. And it makes such a huge difference. Also, there's a lot of work goes on to tackling general loneliness and isolation of all age groups, because again, we appreciate that you can go and borrow a book when it's open class, but it's not the same as human interaction. Next slide, please. Okay, series of events and activities. This is just to give you a range of what we do. This is all done through staff, partnerships we bring in on the base of this, and just the goodwill of the local community and beyond. So we've done a number of dad's clubs, story times, etc. in the park, which is a tester. We've run it here in Priorswood, and now we will be taking those out much wider as well. There was over 100 coasts coming through the kids for free through the scheme that was supported by Taunton Library as well. Parenting cafes. That's made a fabulous difference, and indeed it's attracted the attention of the One Show. We've been approached and we've agreed that we will take this forward to help some filming campaign to make this more widespread to people. Author visits, partnerships with the local nursery. I suspect that wasn't a plant nursery. And we have dimension drop-ins, tech sessions, and much, much more. If I was to actually list all of the events on there, you're going to be looking at somewhere in the region of 600 per year. Yeah, it's a huge impact. And the pictures are all from the library and all the park scenario about how we use it to engage. Next slide, please. So the next steps, where do we go from here? We have been working as requested from the council officers on the service level agreement, which is ready to be reviewed, agreed and signed in June, if that is the wish of the council. We have a request that we do need the payment for 24, 25 in 30 days of signing, or my finance officer may just beat me with a large stick. So I'm a little behind on this one. And there's a description about the aspects of the payment subsequently moving on. That's just detailing what, as a brief outline, was the key criteria I was asked to bring here. The important thing also is we will provide quarterly review statistics so you can see what your investment is returning and paying out, as it were. We can provide those at your request. Quarterly is the suggestion, but we will fit to your requirements. And for all of our CLP areas and the funders, we have an annual review which takes place in June of subsequent years to work with you to see how if you're finding this effective, what else you would like to see from us and how we can help you deliver your outcomes. Thank you. Any questions?
Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Chair. Not a question as such. Just want to say thank you for staff and volunteers at the library. They all do an amazing job. To me, it's a no-brainer. 3,500 is the amount. Shows on there. My children use some of the events, so we over to there, and yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Thanks.
Councillor Deacon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My son, thank you, Dan, thank you to the team for everything that you're doing in our community. It is hugely appreciated. I think we should support this and support making it happen. I think things like this is exactly why we passed the budget that we did for this year, was to be able to enable us to support organisations like yourselves in our community. So I'm proud that our budget in place so that we can hopefully do things like this and approve it today. I suspect more of a kind of governance point of view. We have a choice, I guess, whether we want to allocate all 3 years from this year's budget and earmark it forward, so it's kind of all covered, so not carrying it over year on year, or allocate it per year. Yes, that's a decision for us. Personally, I'd probably go for the former and just take the whole amount and then pay it in 3 chunks over 3 years out of this year's budget. Would be my personal view, but it was great to hear what colleagues think. That question for you is, I'm conscious that Lincoln Park, just outside your London home, is now our parks and town council responsible for that. As you said, customer access point, is it possible that we could possibly provide some information and training to staff in the library, were we to take out the SLA, to also bring on sleep of the services that we're delivering as a council, so that if anyone goes in asking information related to the town council, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
Great, thank you. That's all, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Smith-Roberts.
I'm just going to declare an interest firstly before I talk. For those that don't know, I'm the lead member of the community that covers libraries at Somerset Council. I don't believe it's a personal prejudicial interest, but I will wax lyrical about how brilliant our library service is. It's been recognised nationally in the Baron of Sanderson, but you'll correct me in relation to just how good service in Somerset is. And as you will see, for a very small amount of £3,500, the difference that we can make to people's lives across all demographics, but in particular in an area that ranks on the indices of multiple deprivation as high, is huge. The summer reading challenge has huge impact on children, especially boys, and as Darren said, can help them counteract that dip and hopefully help our teachers have better environment and to encourage reading. But libraries are more than that, and I think I've got a question. I know the answer, but I just want to know whether Darren can explain about the health stuff that libraries do as well a bit more. There was a quote there about the blood pressure, but if you could just explain a little bit about that. But I really support this, and there's perhaps a consideration in future years, maybe more funding could go there if we can see from such a brilliant SLA for £3,500, whether more funding is needed if we can encourage more use of it.
Thanks, Fred. Yes, so we operate what we call Health on the High Street. It's taken from an NHS initiative pilot that was originally kicked off with a few authorities. We're the only one who's took it to success. We have some standing, something you might see in a GP surgery. When you walk in, you can get your blood pressure taken by putting your arm in, so it's fully automated. It updates your GP records provided you give it permission to do so. It takes your height, your weight, your BMW, your heart rate, a whole host of stats and information. So it's effectively a basic health checkup in a library. Now, the reason we do this is because libraries are incredibly inclusive. There's a lot of people who do not engage with the traditional health service, and that's been recognised nationally, and it's one of the reasons they target library authority to work with them. We're also working on things like helping support release programmes from out of hospital. We are bringing that to Priorswood along with one of our mobility ones. So this is helping people of all ages with a wide variety of conditions who have low mobility in order to enable them to get the maximum exercise regime and control. This is not It's not my place delivering it. This is actually us facilitating delivery by third parties or trained specialist occupational therapist physios. And this enables us to get people in, moving, active, and that has proven effects both in terms of their mental well-being and their physical outcomes, including improving their ability to look after themselves. We back that up with the dementia offer. We will bring in an interactive projector, for example, which we can set up in there, and that has a variety of tools that help send children, adults with dementia, adults with a variety of neurological issues, and also people with learning difficulties. And that's, again, we're fully supported by staff. This is not help yourself. This is us bringing in people that will do that for you. We also bring in, we support health visitors, delivery of mother and baby clinics, as they still unfortunately call them. But we try and encourage more inclusive. We also offer a range of specialist IT provision, which again comes free with the connectivity included, which all support health, enable people to live independently. One of the issues we have, for example, when people get out of hospital is people come out of hospital, they live on their own. How do they get fed? Well, we show them how to do home shopping, and we'll put a volunteer in there to bring their books in and keep an eye on while we're at it. So this is all about working with communities to help people help themselves and support living in the community, which is what we're being asked for. So those are key needs. We also have a wide variety of specialist resources to help people understand their conditions and how you can help manage them, all developed professionals under what's called the Reading Well scheme. And we have a variety of specialist collections. The most recent we've launched was for menopause, helping people to understand that, cope with it, strategies and access resources that will help support them if they have a particular need. There's a few other things that I can be honest, you struggle to remember them all because there's a lot of them. Last time I did a health talk, it was over an hour, so I should say.
Councillor Ellis will be waiting a while. Then Councillor Esky.
Thank you. You've just blown me away. I mean, I thought I had a good handle on what the library service does, but you just reminded me just in how pivotal it is to the life of the community. I mean, it's just incredible. Not just the sort of literary support and all of that, and the sort of social function, the health function, you know, engagement. It's just incredible what you actually deliver for, you know, this such small amount of money. So I'm with Councillor Clark on this. This is an absolute no-brainer. I would echo Fed's point though. What concerns me is I definitely must approve this tonight and nail it down as the sort of minimum. But what I'm worried about is the future, and given that, you know, if the financial emergency facing Somerset isn't addressed, I just want to be really clear that we need to know early doors what threats there are to the library service, both at Priorswood and Taunton Library going forward. Because to me, it's the jewel in the crown of Somerset Council, but it's the most fundamentally important, one of the most fundamentally important public services that we have in this town. And so we must absolutely safeguard it for the future. So it's just a plea really that if there are the financial pressures continuing, and there's a risk of the service having to contract, we don't want that. We want it to be able to go forward. So an early sort of warning, a discussion about how the town council can partner and support Fed's team and you guys to safeguard the library service is just really vital.
Thank you.
Councillor Preston.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to echo what everyone else has said, really, and thank you to Sue and Darren for getting this to us for this evening's meeting. It is far more than a library, the hub. It's more of a hub for many communities, because in actual fact is a lot of people's local library. Everyone thinks library and they think the centre of town. And that was partly the reason why we were able to get the money in the first place from West Monkton and Cheddar, because they could see the benefit that it had, because we had a lot of people coming from Maidenbrook and West Monkton area using that as their local library. One person actually said to me when I was the county councillor at the time that Priorswood Library meant everything to them because they suffered from anxiety and they found the main library really they couldn't cope. So for them, going to Priorswood Library was their outlet to find that safe space to be able to get on and learn, or access to the computer. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I would be very happy to put my name as proposer to this. So thank you very much for your watch.
Councillor Stress.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Madam Mayor. I just want to say what a wonderful presentation. I'd like to reiterate what everybody has said. I didn't appreciate the extent of the service you provide, but what I also had always erroneously thought that these services were only for the residents of Priorswood, but in fact it's for Taunton. And I'm absolutely blown over by what you said this evening, and you have my full support.
Yes, I was, sorry, what have I missed? Sorry, Councillor Tubby.
I'm going to move down the other end, I think. I'm a member of West Mountain Parish Council. And when this first came about, West Mountain was told that the library, either someone supported it or the library would under. And I thought it was 7 years ago. In fact, I was 7 years ago. I checked that myself today. So I'm going to ask you exactly the same question we asked at the time to the library service. This money is going into Priorswood and Priorswood only. Westmoreland agreed to put the money in because we realised that people from Westmoreland were actually using the library. So it's a much wider area. But will you give us that guarantee that that money is to go in, not into the library service, but basically to keep
we do have some sites that also have supporting funding from various other councils or bodies. In all cases, it is to serve the community that library serves. It is the reality that libraries do not serve just one political area. They do serve the community that regards them as their own. And Westmoreland have, to my knowledge, 66 current active members who use Priorswood regularly, you know, it is about the catchment area. Our policy is very simple: everyone is welcome.
Wow.
And that is our commitment. We do not turn people away.
Thank you. That's the question answer I expected from you. You've got 5%, 100% my support.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I mean, given the encouraging reports we've had back from all our councillors of the work you're doing, it's absolutely tremendous. I'd just like to really kind of reiterate what Councillor Hare said and really urge us as a council to find some way of future-proofing this service, this library here, and whether it's a case where I would hate to see you down coming back in 3 years' time, back in hand, begging for us for more money, just to keep the service going. So I don't know, talking probably out of turn off the top of my head, but is it something that we can take to finance, where they can start looking at how we can future-proof this service, make sure that it continues?
Well, I'm going to ask Marcus what he thinks about that.
I mean, you can add in an extra, you know, ask the committee to look at the longer term future Priorswood Library, just in terms of the specific request, which is so I just want to read out really what the resolution is as I see it, but obviously you're happy to confirm that, so that the funding is for £3,500 for 3 years, to be taken from the devolution budget, with a detailed SLA to be agreed and delegated to the clerk to go away and sign if you approve this funding tonight. In terms of what Councillor Deacon raised, in terms of we can put the 3 years funding in an earmark reserve this year to cover the next 3 years, and it will come from the devolution budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, I think we are. Oh, sorry, I missed someone. Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Sorry to come back. I'm just wondering, Darren, if you could just explain a little bit, because there's a lot of talk about what the future looks like, but there's also what the future looks like for the library service and actually the rules that we have to abide by. So that, yes, the council has a financial emergency, but the library is simply a statutory service, and what that means is very different. But if you could just explain the process that we have to go through, so that it may allay some fears, but I also think as a council, we need to look at actually what that future looks like for us, because you can give 3,500 and you get what it says on the tin, or actually you can go, we want to up it and do more, because if we gave more, could there be more? Does that make sense what I'm saying? But I think that Darren now, I'd just like you to allay some fears, but what does that look like from the library's point of view?
Certainly. It's no secret that we are in financial difficulties as council. As an officer, my job is to find ways of making savings. We have proposed those. However, because we are a statutory service, there is a long and complex process I have to follow in order to enact changes. So there are a number of proposals which are out in the public domain, some of which are specific to other areas, some of which are potentially applied across the whole area. Currently, the change of hours or closures would not be considered for Priorswood or any other the community libraries currently because of the contractual situation that pursues to set those up. They would, and we are in the process of working to renew those on slightly slimmed down terms, but with the same guarantees moving forward. And I should emphasise these community libraries are all statutory libraries. In order to change that status and to revoke it, I would have to take exactly the same process I would need to permanently close a library. That is not something there are. I would say that there was some misunderstanding in the authority previously. I wasn't here, but they thought they were able to delegate the actual requirement to provide the service, not just the delivery of the service. That is not correct. We have corrected that now with the council, and there is that understanding. So I am undertaking a needs analysis because I've been requested to by the Somerset councillors in order to see what savings we might identify from what we call the core libraries, but Priorswood is a community library, is therefore immune from that action currently. I say currently as in for at least 2 years.
Thank you. So, okay, thank you very much. But tonight we're actually voting whether we're going to give 3,500 over 3 years, or right at the beginning, or give one lump to keep the services going for these next 3 years. And so could I have a proposal, please? Councillor Deakin and someone to second it. Councillor Clark, thank you. And could I have a show of hands, please? Okay, unanimously carried. Amazing, thank you very much. Okay, now moving on then to item 15, which is to disband the Community Services Committee and create Community and Place Committee and Operations and Assets Committee. I'm calling on Marcus Prowse to introduce the topic. Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yeah, on the agenda, before we get into the nitty gritty of the terms of reference and the scheme of delegation and standing orders, it's been advised that members should formally resolve to disband the committees that were existing in the previous municipal year. So the Community Services Committee will be disbanded with a newly created Community and Place Committee. And that to create an Operations and Assets Committee. So it's been previously advised splitting those programmes to better map onto the staffing areas that have been created with the new staff structure. And then number 4 is following discussions that I think have been held throughout the year So I've added it on there to ensure that, speaking to the chair of the relevant committees around this, transferring the responsibilities around transport from the Planning, Development and Transport Committee to Community in Place. And then obviously with that taking effect, you would then need to rename the Planning, Development and Transport Committee. And I've suggested that as it also covers licensing matters, that be there as so it becomes the Planning, Development and Licensing Committee. But obviously welcome members' thoughts on that.
Does anyone have any comments about this? In that case, please may I have someone to propose it? Councillor Solomon, someone to second it. Councillor Strauss, thank you. And could I have a show of hands on this matter? Okay. Thank you very much. That's unanimous, I think. Thank you. The next topic is the various recommendations from the Finance and Governance Committee, and I believe Marcus Fancy are going to talk about it as well.
Yeah, thank you, Madam. So this just went to Finance and Governance just over 2 weeks ago. I believe the main point in general that before this becomes an approved policy, there are some personal pronouns that are located throughout the document, so we'll get those removed. But other than that, happy to take any comments and feedback on what's proposed. Thank you.
Are there any comments about these different proposals? I mean, they went through, I think, all through the Finance and Governance Committee, but we're going to vote on each of them separately. So I'd like members to consider the revised standing orders and agree with the revised standing orders. Sorry, Councillor Deane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are some, I think, really quite important changes actually in here that we probably shouldn't just gloss over, that we approved at the committee. So I know myself and Councillor Banks and Councillor Purley chaired the meeting. It might be worth mentioning that the two things that spring to mind to me that is worth mentioning more because it indicates the way of working that we want to have council moving forward is that there's now more authority for committees to spend up to, I think it's £100,000 within the prescribed budget lines. So the idea of that is to increase that committee meeting frequency, so the committees have more power to make decisions to keep things moving along quicker. So that change is reflected in this new documentation. The other key change that I remember, which actually I think Councillor Packer might be a better place to talk about, is the change to the grants policy. There's a subtle shift in there for the year ahead. So I'm going to slightly put you on the spot. Is that how you put notes on something? I'll have Councillor Packer if that's okay. To talk about that, but it's quite important.
Thank you, Councillor Packer.
Thank you, Councillor Deakin. Yes, there's a couple of changes to the grants policy. One is that there's been an amendment that we will not consider applications from unitary authority, but we will still, in exceptional circumstances, consider applications made by organisations or groups that are affiliated to the unitary council, but that wouldn't ordinarily be the case. However, we have added a section on venue costs, which is going to be on a case-by-case basis. It's up to the value of £50,000, but this wouldn't come from the current designated grants pot. The money would have to be vied over from a devolution budget line or another suitable budget line as determined, again, on the case-by-case basis, but that would be for the running of venue costs for a specific organisation. There's also a small allowance in there for donations of up to £100, and the idea behind that was that organisations could request a donation up to £100 but without putting in a full grant application, so there'd be a less onerous paperwork burden for that. I think on the copy that I looked at last, and correct me if I'm wrong, the amount that was getting put into that donations pot hadn't been agreed. It was still highlighted asterisks, I think, last time I looked. But my suggestion at the committee meeting was an amount of £1,000 for this first year, which would be up to 10 grants or 10 donations of £100 over the course of the year. I'm very happy to take up suggestions, but as an opening suggestion, that would be the amount that I would propose putting in that policy for this year, which we could review in future if we were inundated with requests for small donations.
Councillor Taylor.
I agree with £100,000. I think it's too low. One of the problems that I've heard from people, a lot of people won't come into small grants because they think we're paying them thousands and they just think that they can't do it. I think there's a lot of people out there who would come forward if we had the money. 10 groups is a small amount. I'd go for 250 personally.
Any other comments on this? Councillor Deane.
Just on the new kind of grant plot around the venue grant, how would that practically work in then wiring the budget? Do we need to wire a certain amount or agree an amount tonight, or is that on a case by case basis as those applications come in that we would then, the grant committee would be able to agree the amount and to wire it in kind of one move? Is that right?
That is my understanding, that we're not allocating a particular amount because it could be any number and there is an unlimited. There is no limit on the number of applications we can receive. They would all be on a case by case basis. The amount would be up to 50,000, but not necessarily that amount. But the flexibility is there depending on the organisations that approach us, and we would discuss that at the relevant committee meeting and request that money slide over.
Councillor Smith.
I've got two separate points. But I'll do the easy one and then I'll come back to probably the harder one. In relation to section 25, in relation to unitary councillors, where we're looking to have them give us an update at the beginning of the council meeting. I'm just wondering and making sure that we've got process set out to make sure that they're invited to these meetings and that it's actually an agenda item, so that then it can go into the minutes, because I believe other parish councils, unitary councillors go and give a report, and that's given in a written report form, and so then it becomes part of the historical minutes. So I'm wondering if that's something that we should look to do, and it ensures that we are kept up to date with things that perhaps impact us as they filter down. And then my second point, and it partly come about because of like the previous discussion, I'm not sure whether it's there for the standing orders, but Ray's point in relation to wanting it to be a different amount made me think, well, maybe we need the chair of those committees to actually present the item at full council, because I would have hoped that those things would have been discussed at those meetings, and then if the chairs then come forward and then present them as part of actually what took place, so that then we as a council can understand the scrutiny that is taking place at the other committees, and they can then make a decision based on the whole of the 19th month. Because it would be interesting to note then when things happen and then a difference of opinion has come up at full council.
Marcus, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, thank you. Just on the first point around the division members from the unitary, I think we reflected that in the standing order. So under 24.2, it says unitary councillors will be given an opportunity at each full council meeting to provide an update on matters arising from their division. Said update shall not exceed 5 minutes in length. And then on the other points regarding the grants, obviously I've just confirmed with the clerk, sorry, who unfortunately can't be with us tonight, but is listening in. So the grants committee, it'd be preferable if you could agree a budget in total to earmark reserve for that. Tonight, the grants committee can then allocate up to the budget amount for the year, and all grant recipients have to provide an end of project report as per the grants policy. That's useful.
Councillor Alice, I've been waiting a long time. Thank you. No, I support the changes to the grants policy. I think it's good to have that extra flexibility for small grants where it's like somebody's just doing an event and they literally just need some kit or something, and I just think that's really positive. I obviously support the venues grant because there are quite a lot of not just artistic and cultural, but also sporting venues that may be needing some support in the future. And we're still in a very fluid time where, you know, a lot of organisations are still recovering after COVID and there's been high inflation, restricted funding from Somerset, etc. So we do need that extra flexibility. So I very, very strongly welcome that. I had a few quite boring things. I almost wasn't going to raise them about standing orders, but I might as well since I've got the thingy. So there's a really boring, they're boring, well, they're not boring. They're wonderful. They're actually quite boring. One is about where it talks about in the standing orders, about public participation was not formed part of the formal meeting, but submitted questions will be appended to the minutes. So presumably with the response to those questions, I just think it's really important that when people come, I'm really grateful to people actually coming to our full council and to committee meetings and contributing. And that's something we really want to encourage because there's been a lot of positive engagement through that route. So I think it's important that there's a kind of note of what they said and then what the response and follow up was on that. In fact, is that kind of, can one read that into the standing orders patrols? Don't know. The other thing was about section 9, which deals about motions. It's to the public, wouldn't be quite clear what the criteria for what goes on the agenda is and what doesn't. Is it, you know, it just looks like it's literally at the clerk and political leader's discretion. So I think we ought to clarify that for the benefit of members of the public, looking at what gets on the agenda, how things get on the agenda, other than prior committees and whatnot. And then there's another thing about the emergency expenditure. So the clerk, I mean, I'm in favour of this, the clerk having the ability to spend 50 grand in an emergency outside the agreed budget. But when I was reading it through, it seemed to me that it needed some qualification as to informal consultation and being in line with the council's policy and priorities. And then there could be some read across for the provisions of section 26, because that deals with things requiring urgent decision, whether and it talks about this consultation or maybe even an emergency committee meeting. So I wondered whether you wanted to have some read across there. Those are my thoughts.
Marcus, I don't know whether you want to respond to that, because I mean, we're looking at these revised standing orders. So they, I mean, if we're going to accept those proposals by Councillor Ellis, then the standing orders will lead to some kind of revision.
Thank you, Madam. Yeah, happy to be specific about the responses will be appended in addition to the questions to the minutes with each minutes going forward on the new standing orders. In terms of the motions and who decides, I think in 9.6 it says that the decision of the proper officer is the deciding factor in terms of motions on the agenda. But maybe that there's some wording. I know there's an agenda request form that we can add to elucidate that. And then the other comments, yeah, happy to look at reflecting those changes. Thank you.
So, I'm voting this on this.
Yeah, we can do them on a do something this one with sessions.
Yes.
Yes. But I can probably take them on a standard.
Okay, then can we vote on this then for each separate item then? So it says members to consider revised standing orders. So I need a proposer and a seconder for this. Thank you, Councillor Tully, and a seconder. Thank you, Liz. Judy's done. I can't read that far. Judy stayed though. Thank you. Sorry, I'm very sorry, Judy. It's like my glasses. They're not bifocal. Sorry. Financial regulations and internal financial control. So, oh, sorry, we haven't actually voted on this, have we? So, we've got a seconder, and then can I have a show of hands? Yeah, thank you. Then moving on to financial regulations and internal financial controls. Members to consider the revised financial regulations and internal financial regulations and internal financial controls. And again, could I have a proposer to accept this? Thank you, councillor Packer Hughes, and could I have a second, please? Councillor Furman, thank you, and could I have it again?
Is the discussion finished on?
Yes, I mean, do anyone want to say anything about this before we vote on it? In particular, because we kind of discussed everything all together, I think. I think that was, yeah. So could I have a show of hands on this, please? Yeah, thank you. And the scheme of delegation. Does anyone would like to say something about that? Councillor? Yeah. Councillor? Yeah.
I'm just wondering for each of these are really important documents, whether there's a brief overview that we can be given on each of them. Because I think if you were to watch this record back, all you're going to see, and I'm happy for people to disagree with me, is people going, oh, we're taking them as read. But these are documents, we maybe don't need to go through fine tooth comb, but these are the fundamental regulations of what we're doing as a council. If we take the scheme of delegation, are we updating, as an example, the authorities that we're giving to our club to sign off on things, as an example? I just think that we need to make sure that we're vocalising things. And if there are people interested at home who want to understand how councils work, who may not be able to watch or just want to hear, having a brief overview helps explain how the levels of government work.
Yes. No, thank you for that, Councillor Smith. There is an overview report appended to the agenda, but in terms of just on, if we go with this scheme of delegation specifically, you'll see obviously the new committees that are proposed to take place and their matters for consideration and determination. They have 7 members, so particularly with the operations and assets, that will be dealing with matters such as the business services, depot services, environmental services that the town council currently undertakes or will be undertaking directly in the future. All matters related to the management matrix of the town council's facilities. One of the things I think that Councillor Deane highlighted about the delegated authority, the spending limits, and I think this was discussed at the Finance and Governance Committee a couple of weeks ago in terms of the £100,000 spending limit delegated from full council to each committee, with any amounts in excess of this requiring recommendation to full council for final approval. Obviously, welcome your thoughts on the level of that that's been set. In terms of other updates in this scheme of delegation, there's also, we propose to add so each of the managers and the clerk and myself have their delegations for the activity that they have to carry out for the authority specified in this scheme delegation, so that it's not always that the clerk has to sign off or do something. So it's designed in a way to be specific, but also allow for officers to carry out the roles and functions related to their directorate areas without it always having to get signed off by the town clerk. So that's why you see under there, under 12, 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 have all been the managers coming into place that we've been recruiting for, and the elements of their role that fill under that will be populated on their job descriptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Would anyone want to say anything about the scheme of delegation before we vote on it? Councillor Packy.
I was have to say, I was originally slightly wary about increasing the amount that was delegated to the devotion committees to £100,000. I have to say, I initially got quite uncomfortable bear in mind that those committees are a maximum of 7 people, but I think it is actually quite important if we're moving to a new bi-monthly full council meeting to enable projects to move forward in a really timely fashion. It does give us some incredible flexibility where the full council may well still make some of those large decisions, but it means that committees can actually push their projects forward in a timely sort of fluid fashion rather than having to wait for 2 months to come back to this council to get those decisions made. So I think for now, it is the right decision to do that.
Councillor Harris.
Thanks. I support the changes to the committees, and I think that flexibility is and by Councillor McCall's, it's great. It's a bit indispensable. I go on the communities in place one that they have responsibility for stuff to do with the climate and ecological emergency, which also seems sensible. But there are times when, I mean, in the move to the committee thing, I think we may risk inadvertently delaying certain things. So there's a climate and ecological action plan ready to rumble for consideration by a full council. And we said on the 13th of June last year, when we declared the emergency, we said that would be brought back to full council before the end of this June. And if it has to wait to go through committee, that will not happen until July. Now, you may decide that people may decide they're okay with that. I'd rather we stuck to what we said we'd do. And then if there will be times when councils, a resolution comes to full council that involves somebody going away and doing some work and coming back to full council still, potentially. So I would just make that point, but I support the structural constitutional changes.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, can we vote on this then? Could I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Roberts, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Packer Hughes. Could I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you want to say something about the overall changes in the grant policy? I mean, I think that's been kind of fulsomely discussed. I don't know unless anyone would like to say anything else about the grants policy in particular.
The donations amount, it would be good to get that. I think there's been 2 figures, 215,000 just for volunteers.
I think there's some 2 figures been thrown around. One is the amount that individual donations could be, which in the current proposal is £100 as the maximum for small donations. And there was a question about what the actual total pot would be, and my suggestion was a pot of £1,000 from which those £100 donations could be made. I think Councillor Tully had a suggestion of a different figure, and I'm not correct or wrong, but that would be changing the amount of the individual donations.
I said 25 people. Sorry.
But if you'd like to expand on your point, just to clarify.
If you go to 2,500, that means 25 small groups can actually come and they'll feel happier. That's what's going to come.
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I just agree with Ray. I think 25 does sound a better amount over a whole year. That will probably still go quite quickly, so I think, but yeah, start with and then review that next year would be great.
So is everyone happy with that? So is everyone happy with the changes to the grants policy, and also everyone happy with increasing the number of offers of £100 to small groups?
Yeah.
Okay. So could I have a proposal, please? Thank you, Councillor Packer Hughes, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. And could I have a show of hands? Thank you, that's passed unanimously. Right.
Thank you. Just on the revenue grants that we were discussing, I think there was a suggestion that it would be good to earmark a figure tonight if possible, and I believe Clark has suggested 120,000 if councillors were supportive of that.
Yes, Councillor Packer Hughes.
Thanks to the clerk for dialing in a suggestion, because we hadn't discussed the total figure previously for that. And I don't know whether you have the answer to this, Marcus, because you're going to go between, but with that money, is that money already essentially available within the devolution budget for us to make that allocation from this year's budget?
Yeah.
If so, I'm happy for that to be in and out.
Just for the public, I'm getting confirmation that there is sufficient funds to earmark 120,000 from the devolution budget to the grants, for revenue grants in 24-25. Yes.
Okay, could we now have a vote on that, please? To transfer 120,000 from the devolution budget into the grants budget. So could I have a proposal? Thank you, councillor Harris. And second, councillor Clark, thank you. Could I have a show of hands? Thank you. See you then. Okay, moving on then to the code of conduct. Marcus, do you want to give us a little overview of the code of conduct? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. There hasn't, I've just done a bit tidying with the document really. There hasn't been, it's still the model code of conduct that was put forward by the LGA in 2020, and you know, it's been adopted by, I believe, most of the parish and town councils in Somerset. It's the same, yeah, it's the one that Somerset Council use. So it's just to reaffirm that you support the code of conduct. Yeah, there's no substantive changes. Where I've made changes, it refers to section 151 and monitoring officer. Obviously, this council doesn't have any of those, so I've changed it to corporate officer and our responsible finance officer to make it clear that it's bespoke to our organisation. Thank you, Chair.
Would anyone like to say anything about the code of conduct? About the changes, anything? Nothing much. Anyway, so could I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Tully, and could I have a second for this? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell, and the show of hands, please. Thank you. Moving on then to the annual investment strategy. Marcus, would you like to just give us a summary of this one?
Thank you, Chair. Again, this one I don't think has undergone substantive changes. I think there's just a change there in 3.1 in terms of the liquidity of investments. It originally said the town clerk in consultation with the chair of the council, which obviously would have been yourself, which amended that to say that the town clerk in consultation with the finance and governance committee / full council will determine the period of investments that can be prudently committed and shall risk assess for any fixed term investments. Thank you.
So would anyone like to comment on this one? Okay, then could I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Strauss, and secondly, Councillor Packer Hughes, and could I have a vote, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And finally, the dispensations policy. Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, this one hasn't changed overly. I would just suggest that the where it says at the start of the document about the full council agreeing that the town clerk may grant a dispensation to the councillor who has disposable pecuniary interest to vote on any matter we're doing. That's on a later agenda item as well today, so we can add the context from that item to this policy if the council so support those things later on. Thank you.
Are there any comments? Okay, could I have someone then to propose it? Thank you, Councillor Solomon, and someone to second it. Second, thank you, Councillor Berman, and the show of hands, please, for the dispensations policy. Okay, well Okay, that's good. Right, moving on to something perhaps more exciting as the committee membership and terms of reference. And I call upon the leader of the council to introduce the topic.
Thank you, very much, Madam Mayor. I'm slightly buying some time whilst the speech is plugged in. So we've got some penciled in committee places after I consulted with every member of the council and all groups. And they should be appearing on the screen any moment now. There we go. So hopefully, this list accurately represents, the conversations that, we've had regarding who would like to serve on the committee and the relevant, chairs and vice chairs, which will be, formally agreed at the first meeting of each of the committees that takes place and will be agreed, this evening. There does remain, one vacancy, on the personnel committee. So I would request that, oh, yes, Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Councillor Deakin. Unfortunately, Councillor Crespini's had to leave because I was going to invite him to take that remaining space on the personnel committee. I really value his insight, and it would be quite useful to have kind of a cross-party working group on that. It's going to be a really important committee this year with our staff growing exponentially with a number of appointments still to make. Unfortunately, he's had to leave. I will try and contact him to see if he would be willing to serve on that committee. Otherwise, if there are any other volunteers, it'd be grateful to see.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. So, just check with our staff, are we happy to approve the list in principle with that proviso that Councillor Hughes will have contact Councillor Crespini, see if he's happy to join that committee, and if not, we'll then put out to everyone else to see if we can fill the slot. Comfortable with that? Okay, so if everyone's happy, I'm happy to propose that this list of committee places, I guess, but thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm happy to second it. Could we have a show of hands, then, please? Okay, thank you. For Marcus. Next, we've got the public convenience upgrades. Sorry. Brilliant, brilliant. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Evening everyone, so it gives me great pleasure to bring this back to full council, the work that has been done by the working group, and firstly big thanks to both Megan, Caroline and Marcus for the work that they've done in supporting this. As you know, I like to talk about toilets because of the fact that they mean so much to our residents, and that has been shown. If you've had a look at the report from the original survey or consultation that was done in the autumn, where we had lots of correspondence from residents into how they would, that they value them, and it's a key issue for them. And I always advocate that by the fact that I can put up posts on my social media page around different finances and different things that this council and the unitary authority are doing, and I'll get a little bit of interaction. I put up a toilet post, and that is being about at least 8,000 people saw one of my toilet posts, because it truly is something that matters across all demographics of the town, and toilets enable us to attract people in relation to tourists, because we have, the coach stops, and we want it to be, we need this in order to support people as they go about their daily lives. There's a variety of recommendations that we've brought forward, and this is part of our journey in actually looking to upgrade the 2 key public conveniences that we're putting forward. That has been based on the footfall, because we put footfall counters in. That was the first idea of the working group, in order to kind of see how much usage did our toilets get. And even I was surprised by the amount of usage that they got in the condition that they are in. So by bringing this forward, we're looking to consider and endorse a surveyor. And I would like to do an amendment to this now that we've got the ESG reports back in from them. Our preferred option is item 5, which I think is the bottom option on the report. There's lots of reasons for that, but particularly that they've got some interest around listed buildings, and we've got one of our toilets that we're putting forward as a listed building. We know that I don't believe that they are the most cheapest option, but actually it's about the additional skill set that can be bought, especially when we're dealing with those aspects, and the fact that there is an element where we can lock in the price rather than it just being a percentage of the overall value of the contract. And I'd also like to add a 5th recommendation, and I'm sorry that I'm doing this on the hoof to everyone. One of the things that the working group has brought about when we've been considering the work is that we probably need to look at some form of procurement policy. You can see in our financial regulations that we've got stuff like how we can work, but there is probably a matrix or some form of pro forma that we need to follow even further. That this is one of our first big projects as a council that we need to do. So I would like that to be a 5th recommendation for the Deputy Clerk and Clerk to consider, probably with the RFO, as to how future projects and probably even the procurement of the actual contractor can look to work. Because I think there's been some learning by going through the working group. But for me, this is a really positive step forward. We're listening to residents. I spoke to them all at our stand a few weekends ago, because we want to go after the community ownership fund, which will again alleviate, if we are successful in that bid, of the money that we use from council tax collection and using actually grant funding, and we needed to gain support from that. And I think 97% supported us going after that fund. So again, a positive piece of work that we're presenting this evening. I don't know if the Vice Chair Amber wants to add anything to my spiel, but we'll go from there.
I'd just like to echo my thanks to the officers who have done an amazing amount of work, a huge amount of research, and they've done so much work in looking at the plans, looking at surveyors, finding out all sorts of information for us. So thank you so much for all their hard work. Yeah, the recommendation, we only have the environmental, social and governance information at ESG. That information came through very recently, so that's why there wasn't initially a recommendation for a particular surveyor, but we've had time to have a look at the information since then. I agree with Federica that the 3rd option, whilst on the face of it it's very slightly more expensive, and there's not a huge difference between the 3 preferred options. Two parts of that contract will be a fixed cost. Only a small part of that will be a percentage, whereas the other ones are pure percentage. And whilst with the best of intentions, we would like to stick to our budget, we all know there is always a margin for projects being slightly more expensive than we'd like them to be, particularly construction projects at the moment. So actually having a fixed element in that cost could be quite prudent, and so have to plan more carefully. But otherwise, I would recommend these proposals to the council.
I'd just like to thank you for everyone on the toilet group for being so enthusiastic about it. It's amazing enthusiasm for this project. Anyway, can I just remind everybody what we're voting on? That we noted the work completed today regarding the upgrade of the 2 key public conveniences in Taunton. We've considered and endorsed and recommended surveyors preferred by the toilet working group. Yes, sorry, Councillor Deane.
Thank you, Madam. Again, I just wanted to thank the working group and the office for the work that is this. It's hugely important. I think if in 12 months' time we're sat here and we managed to not only improve but renovate 2 of our toilet blocks, I think that would be a huge success. I wanted to ask a quick question around the work from the suppliers. So the word is totally off my head. There's been 6 to 8 weeks from contractors, to undertake the works, I assume per block. Did they give, when we spoke to them, any indication of whether they've got a backlog of work or whether they are in a position? I know the surveyors can move quite quickly, but are contractors also in a position to move relatively quickly, or are we only waiting 6 months till they've got availability to do the work, if that makes sense? Yeah.
So we haven't got that far. The initial quotations we've got are very initial quotations. We haven't got into those sorts of details. We will need to go through a full tender process, and all of that will come out in the wash. But no, I don't have that sort of information now.
Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, so we're not sort of signing off a specific design, are we, tonight? It's simply, this is just to kind of move the project forward. So yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I think there must be temporary toilets when the work is going on. I really want that nailed down, like now, because there was some suggestion in the paper that wouldn't happen. I was like, that hasn't happened. And my sort of reaction to it was I personally don't like the idea of detention centre type sort of any town toilets, but I understand that they're cheap, dirt cheap and easy to clean. And for some reason, it seems to be people who are employed to clean toilets seem to be incapable of cleaning toilets. Maybe that's got something more to do with private contractors who are creaming on money. So I mean, I don't know if that's nailed down either. I totally get the thing about maintenance costs. And I am very concerned that there must be sufficient direct access cubicles, because my gut tells me that the 3 to 5 replacement a bit dodgy, especially because now you've got you'd have the wash basins in the direct access cubicle. So somebody's gone in there, done their business, then washing their hands instead of do the business, exit, you're going to have longer in the cubicle. So I think I would err on the side of more cubicles rather than fewer cubicles, because you don't want, it's not a good look to have people queuing. And I do think that, so I'm quite happy with what's on the table. I think we shouldn't maybe take changing places off the table, just in case. I don't know how nailed down the mobility hub provision is, the changing place toilet. I don't know, so maybe that could still be in the mix. And I think eventually I'd like to see a wider strategy to pick up issues like community toilet schemes, because we're missing toilets at one end of town now by the library. There's no public toilets at the library. So I think we need to also, this is very right if this moves forward, but equally we need to have a wider sort of strategy.
Thank you. Councillor Terry.
Thank you, Chair. The report's great. There's only one thing missing from it. On Friday afternoon, I was in the Minster. I had 4 people come and say, is there any toilets around here? Because there's no signposts. And I think that committee needs to get that and done. It's no good having brand new toilets. No one knows where they are. Thank you. I want to bring that to my meeting.
Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Just to come back in answer to questions, and if Megan wants to correct me on anything. So in relation to the detention grade, and I've spoken, I think, before with other people, it's actually the quality of the toilet in order so that it doesn't get damaged. So they can still look nice, but it's so that you can't smash them up, vandalise and damage, and they actually cost more. So it's not about them actually being poor quality, it's actually about them being fit for purpose for public use in toilets that see if it's 15,000 people a month, and also unfortunately some of the antisocial behaviour that you get with them. The changing places provision, I do think that we need more. The one that government funding was given to the previous Somerset West and Taunton Council, that still, to the best of my knowledge, is on the cards at Somerset Council, because I believe they've gone out to procurement for it. So it's moving forward as a piece of work. They're actually looking for a person to run it once they've built it. So perhaps that could look to come within the town council portfolio, should we need to do that. And then on signage, and in relation to Ray's point, very key that we do more signage. I think there is a wider project, not just about toilet, but wider project around signage in the town in general, so people know where our great places to go are and know about where they are. Also, I think it can be put on a website and also on Google in relation to toilets. So again, for those that use that, that's great. And also we then need it for those that don't.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Smith-Roberts. Thank you very much. Yeah, very important aspects that have been mentioned tonight. Right, so can we vote on this? But I think Marcus has got one extra amendment.
Well, it's just to confirm the wording on the 5th resolution. If that's right with Federico. I mean, I put to consider future projects and the procurement of contractors through the development of a new procurement policy that reflects the adopted policies and ambitions of the town council. Yep, okay. And then just in terms of where you read out recommendation to Madam Mayor, are we clear that this council is endorsing the recommendation of the toilet working group, which is Surveyor 5? Thank you.
Sorry. Yes,
So just one final point, and this is partly for anyone watching at home or if you're checking in later, but I'm frequently on social media, there are accusations for at any level of council, how decisions are made and how contracts are awarded. And I just wanted to point out that the information we received was anonymised. It was based on the merits of the company, the service they can provide, the prices they have quoted. I personally have no knowledge of actually which particular companies they are. Officers have done due diligence, but it was on the services that they could provide and arranged by the criteria that we put forward. I just wanted to point out that that's the process that went through.
thank you very much. It's very important to know. Yeah, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. Yes, I think I'm very happy with that. Just in response to that, with the fifth contractors looking at their response, they really itemise what they're doing in terms of the environmental, ecological, and water recycling. I think that was really good, and the sort of thing we should be endorsing. I'm just considering point 4, which is consider delegating approval of further insight for the project to a committee of the council. I'm assuming that council will be operations and assets.
It's for you, council. Has anyone made that? Is that the feeling in the room? Operations and assets. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
In which case, can we try and vote on this, including the fifth recommendation about the procurement policy and maybe including something about temporary toilets and signposting, just an addition on that. So could I have someone to propose? Yes, Councillor Smith Roberts, and second that, Councillor O'Donnell, thank you. And could I have a vote, please? Thank you, and thank you to all those who've done so much work on it. Next, could I call on Marcus Krause to introduce the topic of the calendar of the meeting?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe this has gone to 2 committees, went to the last full council and it went to the Finance and Governance, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So it's been brought here for a final affirmation, if you will. And if you're happy with what's proposed, we'll get those out in the diaries later this week. Apologies, there may be a fair few calendar invites winging away post the meeting, but yeah, happy to take any comments or feedback. You may have noticed we've for August 2024, we've cleared the debts in relation to that, so that like it was in the first year. There's a summer recess in committees over that period. But apart from that, I can take any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments about stuff? Okay, in that case, may I have a proposer to set this calendar of meetings? Thank you, Councillor Furman. And second, please. Thank you, Councillor Stainthorpe. Could I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. Yes, that's unanimous. Right, we come to item 20, which is dispensations. So again, Marcus, could you introduce the topic to us?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yeah, this item is about granting a general dispensation, whereas the earlier policy dealt with more of the specific dispensation requests that come up. And so this is for council to consider granting a general dispensation for the rest of the quadrennium for councillors to vote on setting the budget and annual precept, acting in their capacity as charitable trustees, and any councillors who are twin hatters serving on the unitary council considering business involving that authority. And also then to members to consider delegating the power to grant further dispensations to the clerk. This power rests with the relevant authority under section 31(1) of the Local Government Act 2011. These general dispensations have been selected where in the likelihood that every affected member would have a disclosable pecuniary interest, so it would affect the ability of this council to conduct its business. It just for the record, a relevant authority may grant a dispensation under this section only if, after having had regard to all the relevant circumstances, you as the authority consider that without that such those councillors that would be prohibited from participating in business would be so great a portion of the body transacting the business as to impede the transaction of the business. And then there are some other qualifications of B and E, but I think it's in the main that provision under A. So thank you. I'll take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions about chance about this? Okay, in that case, may I please have a proposal? Yes, thank you, thank you, Amber. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Colin. And may I have a vote, please? Unanimous, thank you. It's been suggested that we defer the schedule of payments because there are so many things on this tonight's council agenda that maybe, we need to then move on to it can be deferred till next time. So can we move on to then item 22, which is the councillor attendance record. Again, Marcus will introduce the topic.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just for your consideration, obviously we capture the attendance of every council at the formal committee meetings, and this is to be published at the annually on an annual basis. So it's here for your consideration and noting. Thank you.
Would anyone like to make any comment about this attendance? Okay. Thank you. May I have a proposal to accept it? Thank you, Councillor Solly. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Strauss, thank you, and a show of hands again. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item 23, which is bringing us towards the end of the meeting, thank goodness, which is access of information. This is a motion to exclude the press for item 23. The recommendation is that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the items of business agenda item 24 on the ground that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, respectively of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, namely information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. And I'm going to propose this, and I need a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Vernon, and also show of hands to include press and the public. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, then move on to the final.